My name is Luck Dun Luck, your host on the American Generation, here to inspire patriotism, encourage civic engagement for the betterment for all communities here in America. And I'm glad to have my friend here, Dr. K. Rubin, as an educator. I believe that her viewpoint is going to definitely add value to the conversation as far as what it means to be American. And I think that it's important to really look at how students in our future generation see themselves as American here in this country. How did you get into education?
It was a little bit of an accident.
Okay.
I started out working in community mental health, and at the time I needed to make more income, and I didn't know what to do. And I remember I started out at community college because for me I wasn't considered the ideal college student, and it gave me a leg up to be able to then apply to a 4-year college and get my degrees. And my dad planted the seed in my head that, you know what, maybe you should go back and start teaching. So I started teaching as an adjunct, and I loved it, and I wanted to just do it full time because it's such energy to be able to be a college professor, to share about how psychology impacts everybody everywhere you go, and also to empower these students to be able to move forward with their academic goals, their professional goals, and to be able to play that stepping stone and be that mentor to them. But also, in addition, to be able to teach them how they can be change makers through the civic engagement and democracy opportunities that we provide at the college. So it's happening at multiple levels, not just the classroom level. It's happening at the campus level, and it's also happening at the college level.
You know, it's interesting you say all this because I specifically remember, and mind you, I'll say this kind of showing my age, but I'm going to embrace it. But I looked at how long ago I actually became a United States Marine, and it was 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Back in 2005, I earned the title, the United States Marines, and it was actually my senior year in high school that, you know, it was the 2004 election where Bush and Kerry at the time was running for president of the United States. You know, educators do play a role in terms of being change makers for, impacting future generation. But it's really interesting that how you just shared that because I realized how I got my start into it. And I wonder if students today, whether it's at the college level or at K through 12 or even as adults or whatever, like any place in their educational journey, what do students feel when they want to have a future that impacts the community, regardless of what industry they go into? Can you share some light on that?
Yeah, I teach psychology classes, but one class in particular is basically on emotional intelligence and how to be proactive.
Okay.
And for me, I always said, you know, what you're complaining about is an opportunity for you to advocate and promote change, right? So the two came hand in hand for me, is how can they be a change maker, but also how can they get civically engaged also? So I'm very fortunate at Miami-Dade College is that there's an infrastructure to support that. So we have the Institute of Civic Engagement and Democracy, and basically they have a database where they can link students to the different types of opportunities. And I was just the vehicle that gave them the assignment of pick a social issue that you would like to address and that you would like to make improvements in. So whether it was food insecurity, poverty, how to get involved in democracy, involved in political change, they picked that opportunity and they did at least a minimum of 10 hours of service learning. They didn't like it at first because it's like another thing for me to do. But as they were doing it, they got to see how they could be change makers. But also, more importantly, is how the material that they were learning in my class supplements and also applies to what they were doing and how they can take it with them wherever they go.
You know, it's really interesting because, again, going back to my experience back in high school, after that class, so the class that I took in high school was my senior year was government and politics specifically, and so learning about the different levels of government and. At that time, because the election was going on, we really paid attention, and I was of voting age, and so I was able to really determine, like, okay, you have these two people, and really at the time, to be quite frank, you know, I was looking at, okay, you got Bush, you got Kerry, you know, you got these two guys talking about how they can impact the country, and for me, it wasn't necessarily about party. It was about what can somebody do to help people, and that's kind of where I came from when approaching to want to get involved in politics. And I was, asking my friends, family members. It was actually my ex's mom at the time that told me, well, why don't you consider going to the military? Because, 18 years old, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do with, my life at the time. So, okay, I want to get into politics, but I didn't know how to do it. And, I wasn't necessarily ready to go to college. And so, she explained to me that, people back then apparently had military experience. So, and knowing me, look, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all out.
You're going to go
so,
all out. Do it the best that you can.
I decided to join the United States Marine. The thing was, I actually had the opportunity to, served with the Department of State. I was a Marine security guard at the embassy, or U.S. embassy in Syria, Brazil, Uruguay, and then my last post was actually in Jerusalem. And so it was a great opportunity to actually have both a perspective from not only domestic politics, but also how the world sees America in that lens, or kind of circle back to American patriotism. I wanted to share this, and it may seem kind of controversial when I say this, but I actually felt more American overseas.
The
reason being,
that's true. That's interesting.
Because here's the thing: overseas, they don't look at you as, oh, you're black, white, whatever. They may have some stereotypes because everybody thought that either I was a rapper or a basketball player. I don't know how you're stereotypical, but nonetheless, because they say, oh, that's the Americans. It was funny because in my unit, we were I was the black guy. We had a white Marine, Asian, Latino, and so when we come out of the suburban, when we out, go out to the clubs or out at night, and of course, we're looking looking fresh,
of course,
looking good, right? But they always say, oh, those are the Americans, and so they never differentiated or black or whatever. It wasn't until then I came back to the United States that I realized how divided we are. And what I mean by divided, it wasn't polarizing. It was just we tend to put ourselves in, or put people in boxes. And I oftentimes talk to people where our differences doesn't divide us. We have unique experiences and background, but really we have common ground. And I think that common ground is, how do we get involved and support causes that we care about? And I think that, going back to service learning, I think, regardless of your, as an educator, or if people, whatever they are in their lives, as mothers, as fathers, doctors, lawyers, we all have a role in this, America or American generation. And so I want to ask you this: how do you make sure or encourage people to actually actively get involved in terms of the service learning? How do you do that as an educator?
As an educator, it's bringing awareness, right? So, we live in America. What are the great parts of living in America? The values of America is democracy, equality, opportunity, innovation, all of that, right? But here's the thing: if you don't take care of something, it's going to deteriorate, right? So you, as citizens of America, or aspiring citizens of America, because we're very multicultural. In Miami-Dade College, we've got both populations. This is also your opportunity, because you get to create an environment that you would like to live in. How many of you have something that, how many of you are complaining about how housing is not affordable, or you would like to see something different at the college, or a resource, and seeing, hearing their complaints and concerns, and then linking it to, well, this is what civic engagement is about, and let me show you how you can do it. Because here at Miami-Dade College, we all are about being proactive and innovative and creating opportunity, and to create equality and equity, not only just at the college with access to resources and things, but beyond in the community. So it's, one, making them aware. Two is actually making it a staple and a standard in my classroom to do it. But it's also, I get the support of the college at the campus level and also at the college level, because we have not just the Institute of Civic Engagement and Democracy, we also have single stop. And for students that are either income insecure, food insecure, need housing, need legal assistance, need mental health assistance, we have you covered, right? And so that's how even the college at that level is getting engaged with civic democracy. And also we have, as far as innovation, we have the Idea Center. Students put together an app, was, Minority Marketplace. So it's a platform where business owners that are not getting seen have a spotlight. And there was another one, the Umbrella app, which was, a place where students could voice their concerns and get help anonymously and vice versa. So it really begins with a culture, the culture that is reinforcing that standard.
So you hit on something, because that's where I was going, culture.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we can kind of take a little bit moment to talk about American culture, because I feel as if that when we talk about those issues that you talked about or you mentioned, those are important. But I feel as if sometimes the polarizing politics of today,
it becomes a distractor.
A distractor. Also, at the same time, regardless of a person's political affiliation, I think that it's the issues that's really important, because all politics is local, and those issues that you talked about, it's something that hits home for a lot of people. Sometimes the American political culture kind of hinders us sometimes to really improve on those or make progress on those issues. So I just wanted to ask, as an educator, I don't know if you've seen or if some of your students may have expressed concerns or allude to the political division that we see here in America. Yeah.
One of them that comes up is immigration, because a lot of my students are they hold visas or student visas. They want to progress towards their American citizenship. Some have earned their American citizenship while being in my class, and some are worried about getting deported. So it is about knowing what your rights are, what resources are available to help you. So that's one of the concern that students have, but also the affordability of living in South Florida is also another concern. How to make ends meet. I'm working 3 jobs, and what can I do? And that was one of the reasons why we had a single stop, and we also have the food pantry as resources for our students. They can go to single stop. There's an intake process, and they get linked to resources that they probably didn't even know that they could qualify for. And just to be able to create equal opportunity and equal access, just so that they can, move forward with their professional goals and their personal goals of being an American citizen and being able to be a contributor to American society in the way that they want to be.
Yeah, you hit a very strong issue, immigration, and I wanted to take the opportunity, because not only am I a proud U.S. Marine veteran, I'm also a first-generation American. My parents immigrated from Haiti, and I remember, life wasn't always easy. Growing up, we had some unfortunate circumstances, and this is back in the time when we were on food stamp, when it was color paper. Now we got the EBT card and everything, but the thing is to see where my parents are today, and my father had the opportunity to go back to school, became a doctor, and has his own practice in chiropractic as a chiropractor. And so when we talk about immigration, I think that it's something that people are sensitive about. I think it's something that we can definitely really talk about, how we're making it better for people who really wants to come to the United States. And here's the thing, I've been in other countries. I know people look up to the United States. Regardless of what you think about the United States, people got something to say. All right.
Yeah.
And I think that it's today's political climate is not really conducive. And I'll just be honest with you, it's not really conducive to actually fix the institution or fix the system. But the thing is, yes, I do support. I guess this kind of shows you my political stance, but we need to have a system where things are fair. I know that there's issues and concerns about fentanyls and drugs coming over the border. Also, issues of people that may not be can be harmful to the society. And I know there's issues, not the only issue, but I think it's sometimes maybe unfair to focus on those issues. But here's the thing: one casualty or issue that impacts society, whether it's a American citizen or not, it impacts everybody. So, what's your thoughts?
What I'm hearing is about there seems to be a lot on the topic of immigration. And if this is the whole picture, maybe we're only focusing on this aspect of it. And it would really be important to open up the dialogue where citizens and aspiring citizens could have an interface and have a dialogue with the politicians. I mean, they have town hall meetings, right? You have opportunities to write to your local representatives. You also have opportunities to go lobby, to go lobby in Tallahassee. So there are opportunities, but it is about bringing awareness. And as an educator, and I work, interdisciplinary wise, it's important that we make our students aware of how they can advocate for themselves and how they can advocate for others. So, when I think of advocacy, for me, it's best friends with civic engagement, right? Because that's how we promote change. It happens on an individual level. How can I advocate for myself? How can I advocate for a cause within the community? What resources are available in the community? And then at the governmental level is, how can I interface with politicians? What are the steps in progress to do that? One person that comes to mind that I always use as an example is Desmond Meade. He's a former ex-offender.
I know him.
Yeah, he's a returning citizen.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of interviewing him when I was in grad school because I had to pick a population, because as therapists and counselors, we also have to do advocacy, right? Because that promotes mental health care, good mental health care. And I interviewed him and I said, so tell me about your journey. And I said, you have all this... you have a lot of barriers against you for you to succeed because of how the United States views ex-offenders, right? And he said to me, because I just keep moving forward. I'm getting my degree in law, and he'd made the Reentry Coalition for individuals that are ex-offenders so they can get their rights back. But the most noteworthy change among all the changes that I can think of was, if you were an ex-offender and you had a felon, you couldn't vote, but yet you could be taxed, right? So you could work and get taxed, but you couldn't. So he, with his
civic engagement... It's like taxation without representation.
100%. So he rubbed elbows with the right people and showed that he was a rehabilitated man that was positively contributing to society. And as a result, it made it to the ballot. And now, if you are a returning citizen with a felon, when you're with a felony charge, you can now vote. Yeah,
and like for the audience that may be listening, the Amendment 4 was a amendment on the ballot in Florida, where returning citizen or people who had felony records, is that correct?
Yeah.
Once they done their time, was able to get their rights back to vote. And I voted for it. I supported it.
I did as
well. And it wasn't really, it wasn't a hard decision to make to support it. But I wanted to kind of, before we end, talk about, you saw community development or community, getting people involved, and you talk about Desmond Meade. What are some of the things that you would say to somebody who may be hesitant to get involved in a local organization?
I would say first, it has to be inspiring, number one, right? So what inspires you, right? And then also, ask, what motivates them? Like, what changes would you like to see? And also, how would you like to see yourself get involved? What do you think about volunteering? What impression do you have about it? Because it can be fun, right? If you get the right group of people together and they're like-minded and you're doing tasks where you see progression and you're having fun while doing those tasks, right? But at the same time, it's, finding what individuals are passionate about, what they'd like to see change. Also, showing like stories like Desmond Meade, for example, how where it seemed like everything was against you and like you just got to go with the flow. Where he said, in my interpretation was, I don't think so. Let's see what we can do to make things better. Yeah. Because my thing is, things can always be made better. So of course, what are you as a stakeholder going to do to make what you're complaining about better? Yeah,
it's like one of the things is like, if you didn't vote, why are you complaining? And so and it also goes into like being involved at the local level or whatever level that somebody chooses. But I think it's something that hopefully people are inspired, and there are organizations out there that would tailor or hit home with the issues that they care about. But
just to add to that,
Okay.
it's also the fact that making them aware of it's not, you don't have to do this on your own, because that's very overwhelming.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But to be connected to already an existing community organization, or even a department, right,
Yeah.
within the college I work at, or what have you. I think what it does is it shows them that there's access, and also seeing, the change that has happened through civic engagement
Yeah.
is also very inspiring and also very motivating, which moves the needle.
Yeah.
But for me, it also helps that it's part of a grade.
Okay. Oh, that's it. And I like that. I like that. And sometimes people may not have that. I guess stipulation where they have to do something.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I really appreciate your time. Being on here.
Yeah.
And for those who, I guess, want to connect with you,
They can reach out to me at on social media.
Okay.
Dr. K, and also by email. You can reach out to me to dr.kay@clientcenteredcare.com.
Awesome. Well, that's the time that we have for this episode regarding education and how educators can encourage service learning and getting people to be involved in civic engagement. But I hope this podcast, this episode inspired you. If you feel that this podcast is something that is very important, please share. Follow us on social media, because it's really important to inspire patriotism, because the thing is, we're all Americans, regardless of your political affiliation or background. We're all in this together. So with that being said, thank you very much. See you next time.
And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Awesome.